Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you're just joining us, a warm hello, and if you've been here before, thank you for coming back for another deep dive into the moments that make our hearts race. Today we're unpacking a birthday celebration that started as a simple night out and morphed into the most whispered about reunion in recent memory. Yes, you saw the hints in the thumbnail and the title. We're talking about a party, a room full of familiar faces, and a pair of exes whose chemistry never really left the conversation, Can and Demet. The event? A lively gathering for Vigonal, an actress adored by many. Depending on which post you read, you'll also see her name written as Vigonal, and a few guests even tagged Vigonal and Vigonal in their stories. Different spellings, same party, same site of an encounter that sent fans into detective mode. From the moment the first clip surfaced, you could sense it. This wasn't just a birthday. This was a test of poise under low lights and loud music, a carousel of glances and hesitant smiles, and maybe, just maybe, a confirmation of what so many have been hoping to witness again. Let's set the scene. The venue was intimate but buzzing, dim amber lights spilling across velvet banquettes, the soundtrack switching between dance floor favorites and mellow classics. Guests mingled in pockets of laughter and clinking glasses. And then, as often happens in the city's entertainment circles, the past and present walked into the same room. When two people who built a legacy of on-screen magic and fanned it with real-life warmth stand a few feet apart, silence becomes loud and cameras become quick. That's exactly what happened when Demet and Can found themselves at the same celebration for their friend Vigonal. Social media lit up. Stories and clips popped up from every angle, boomerangs from the bar, group photos near the cake, pan shots of the dance floor. And within that cascade of content were tiny, telling moments. You had to pause and replay to catch them all, but they were there, an eyeline that wouldn't settle, a smile that shifted the second a familiar silhouette appeared, a habit resurfacing in the most human of ways, fixing hair, adjusting a sleeve, steadying a breath. Let's talk about what had everyone talking. Demet's demeanor. According to several guests' accounts and those now viral snippets, the ever-composed Demet seemed just a touch on edge when she realized Can was there. Not uncomfortable in a negative way, more like that bright, fluttery tension that says, I recognize this energy, and I am remembering a lot in a heartbeat. Think of her brushing a strand of hair behind her ear more often than usual, the smile that becomes thoughtful when she senses his presence close by, the brief glance down as if to count the seconds before looking up again. None of it theatrical. All of it human. There's an especially talked about moment from the middle of the evening. Demet was seated at a table with a few close friends, laughing at something a friend said, leaning in to hear a story over the music. The camera pans a second to the left, you catch a glimpse of Can in the background, coming into view. He isn't making a scene or moving hastily. He's greeting people, that signature effortless charm in full effect, a relaxed hello here, a pat on the shoulder there. But then his eyes slide toward her table. The video's only a few seconds long, but the stills taken from it say enough. His gaze lingers, and her smile, stunning and steady, becomes reflective for a beat. It's the kind of thing that needs no words. The kind of thing that keeps fans awake, replaying it at half speed. Reports from the room suggest that Can and Demet did, at one point, exchange a few words. Nothing extravagantly dramatic. No grand entrances. Just a brief approach, a greeting, a warm smile, a quick line or two, and the space between them expanding again as the evening pulled them back to their separate corners. In the world they live in, sometimes the subtleties are the story. A single glance can be a paragraph. A soft laugh can be an entire chapter. What does Demet's apparent nervousness mean? That's where the interpreting begins. It could be simple social jitters, completely normal at any event where the guest list includes people you've shared an intense past with. It could be the awkwardness that creeps in when memory and new routine collide. Or it could be exactly what many are hoping it is. A sign that feelings, even dormant ones, still send sparks through the room when they have the chance. That gently altered smile when Can came into view, that sudden focus on her glass, that instinct to square her shoulders. These aren't smoking guns, they're quiet hints. But sometimes a whisper reveals more than a shout. And what about Can? To those who saw him up close, he looked at ease, unhurried, and engaged with everyone who approached. Classic Can, glowing with that easygoing, give me a minute and I'll make you laugh magnetism. Yet the same observers noticed the way he kept scanning the room, not aimlessly, but like someone who knows who's present and can't help tracking them in the crowd. It was never overdone. No intrusive gestures. No dramatic posture. Just a subtle pattern of attention that didn't go unnoticed by anyone familiar with their history. Now, in a narrative like this, context is everything. Demet and Can built a cultural moment together. Their on-screen alchemy and urgency cuss resonated so deeply that it became part of the way fans experienced romance. The press tours, the behind-the-scenes candor, the little glimpses of off-camera laughter, every piece of it formed a story the audience never quite put down. Even as both moved forward professionally, the shared light from that era never fully dimmed. That's why seeing them in the same frame again, even by chance, sets off fireworks online. Back to the celebration. The cake was rolled out, friends gathered shoulder to shoulder, phones lifted like a sea of glittering stars. You can hear the chorus of happy birthday, you can see Vigonal grinning in the candlelight, some tags call her Vigonal, others Vigonal or Vigonal, and in the following minutes, different circles of guests merged and parted like waves. In one of those small rotations, Demet ended up standing near the bar, chatting with a stylist about work. The background of that clip holds the detail people can't stop dissecting. Can, in conversation across the room, glances over, the corners of his mouth softening. He doesn't walk over right away. He waits. He lets the moment breathe. And then, only later, comes that quick hello. Immediately after, the internet did what it always does, it chose sides of interpretation and ran with them. The Candem faithful, yes, they adopted the ship name with pride years ago, flooded timelines with hopeful captions and hearts in words if not in symbols. Others urged caution, reminding everyone that a night out together does not equal a rekindled flame. But even that caution was laced with a fascination that refuses to fade. Because when two people share a chapter that influential, anytime the pages accidentally overlap, readers line up to see what's written between the lines. Let's not forget the emotional rhythm of a birthday setting. The mood is disarming by design. Music dissolves tension. The sparkle in the air makes defenses a little softer. In that atmosphere, genuine feelings surface more easily. If Demet was a touch flustered, it doesn't have to mean turmoil. It can simply mean that certain presences still carry weight, and that acknowledging that weight is part of being honest with oneself. As for Can, the gentleness of his approach said a lot. He kept things respectful, low-key, but undeniably warm. Sometimes the most meaningful thing two people can do is treat each other with quiet care in a room full of noise. Let's talk visuals. In a close-up posted by a makeup artist, Demet's laugh is bright, then it pauses as someone off-camera calls her name. She turns, listens, smiles again, but differently, delicately, as if deciding whether to step forward or step back. The camera only captures the beginning of the decision. The clip ends there. Another angle shows Can speaking with old colleagues, his hands expressive, his posture open. A beat later, his gaze flicks to the left. That's all you get. It's enough. What makes this so captivating is how it echoes what made them captivating from the beginning. Their performances in Urgency Cuss worked because they brought truth to fiction, they carried a spark that felt lived in. Seeing them side by side again, no matter how briefly, resurrects that spark, even if it's only a reminder. People aren't rooting for a fairy tale as much as they're rooting for that truth. They want to know if the care we once saw is still there, even in its smallest form. There's also the friend factor. Vigonal, or Viginal as some captions labeled her, has been part of both of their social orbits for ages. When friendships overlap, bridges stay intact even when relationships shift. That's why this party felt like the perfect stage. It wasn't contrived, it wasn't a setup. It was organic. And in organic spaces, micro-moments have room to bloom. Of course, the speculation machine shifted into high gear. Are we watching the opening scene of a reunion? Or is this simply two professionals who shared a powerful past and now share the grace to be kind in public? Only time will answer that. For now, what we have are fragments. A laugh that faltered into a thoughtful smile, a hello that held eye contact a second longer than a casual greeting requires, a shared history humming beneath the music. Fans posted compilations within hours. Side-by-side edits of present night clips and old footage from Kenzie Cuss flooded Explore pages. Captions read like diary entries: "We see the way they still look for each other. We see the way they pull back. We see the way familiarity doesn't vanish." Others urged everyone to let them breathe, to remember that real lives don't owe anyone a plot twist on command. Yet even those reminders came with admission: it's hard not to feel something when you see them in the same frame. Careers-wise, both are thriving. Demet keeps collecting roles that stretch her range, and Can continues to expand his international footprint, stepping into new genres and markets with that signature confidence. They've proven, separately, that they're more than the story that introduced them to each other. And still, the echo of that story remains, an echo that sounds loudest in nights like this one, when the universe quietly seats them at tables on opposite sides of the same room. All of this brings us to the question of the night: was Demet's visible flutter a sign of something rekindling? Or was it the natural tremor that arrives when history walks by in well-tailored clothes? Our take is simple. Feelings don't always disappear, sometimes they soften into a language that only the people who share them can read. A glance becomes a greeting. A greeting becomes a courtesy. A courtesy becomes a choice to be gentle with each other's space. And when the time is right, if the time is ever right, gentleness can grow into something more. What we can say with certainty is that the energy between them remains undeniable. Whether it turns into a chapter 2 or stays a beautiful footnote, it is real. And audiences are magnetized by things that feel real. Demet's poised unease doesn't undermine her strength, it underscores her sincerity. Can's composed warmth doesn't hide his heart, it hints at it. That's why the room seemed to bend around their orbit for a few seconds, and that's why we're all here, piecing together those seconds as if they're a treasure map. So yes, the birthday of Vigonal, spelled Vigonal by some, Vigonal or Vigonal by others, delivered more than candles and confetti. It gave us a glimpse of two people managing a fragile, familiar spark with respect. And that was enough to set the internet ablaze. Whether you file it under hope or closure, the feeling is the same: we care because their story once reminded us of our own. That's our breakdown for tonight. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Demet's nervous smile and those careful glances suggest there's still a chapter left to write? Did Can's easy composure look like an invitation, or simply a gracious nod to the past? Drop your take in the comments. We read everything, and this community always delivers the most thoughtful theories. If this deep dive kept you hooked, tap like, share this with your friends who have been Team Candem since day one, and make sure you're subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets with notifications on. Because if the next sighting happens, you know we'll be here, ready to analyze every frame, every look, and every heartbeat in between.